The Fatima Positioning Code.
The apparitions of Our Lady of Fatima occurred in the early 20th century in Fatima, a village in central Portugal. This was an event of epic proportions, enough to shock the world and turn the tide of history. No exaggeration could be too much to describe its significance. The year was 1917, during the latter stages of the First World War. Across the globe, especially in Europe, smoke billowed and blood flowed like rivers. In Portugal, the feudal dynasty had just been overthrown, and a republic established not long before. The social atmosphere was still shrouded in a blanket of light terror. However, in this little-known Fatima, it could still barely be considered a haven, a tranquil village. But in the silent wilderness, earth-shattering thunder was brewing. The Virgin Mary suddenly visited, astonishing all the people on earth. Today, this matter is widely known, a fact familiar to everyone. However, what everyone knows are just superficial stories, mere accounts of surface phenomena. They lack the excavation and interpretation of the deeper codes behind it, and appearances without interpretation are destined to be soulless. This soul is precisely what this article seeks to find, its true meaning. Here's the English translation, with commas added for readability. Portuguese political background. In 1910, on the Iberian Peninsula, Portugal experienced a revolution. This revolution overthrew the monarchy and established the First Republic. The newly formed Republican government had strong liberal and anti-clerical leanings. This led to the separation of church and state. They believed that the Catholic Church was a stumbling block to social progress. Consequently, the Republic's government adopted a series of measures to suppress Catholicism, including religious orders were prohibited from operating in Portugal. Many members of religious orders were expelled from the country. The government confiscated vast amounts of church property. This included churches, monasteries, schools, land, and various other movable and immovable assets. Subsequent regimes offered some compensation, but the state plunder had become historical fact. Religious education was forbidden in public schools nationwide. Legalizing divorce was implemented. The rights of illegitimate children were recognized. Cremation was approved, and cemeteries were secularized. Restrictions were placed on church bell ringing and public religious celebrations. The government attempted to interfere with the operation of seminaries. They reserved the right to appoint professors and determine the curriculum. This was another instance of religious persecution reminiscent of the Reformation era. Once again, there was smashing, looting, and burning. However, the population adhering to Roman Catholicism accounted for over 85%. It seems that the rule of a minority over a majority, without violent plunder, would have been surprising. These anti-church policies led to severe polarization within Portuguese society. Liberals in urban areas supported the Republic's policies. The vast rural areas and devout Catholics strongly opposed them. Many felt their religious freedom had been violated like robbery. In such a social context, where Catholicism was strongly suppressed, the Fatima apparitions were seen by many devout believers as solace from above. In the apparitions, the Virgin Mary repeatedly called for prayer, repentance, and penance. This deeply resonated with many Portuguese Catholics who felt their faith threatened at the time. The message of the apparitions was also interpreted as a divine anger towards the government's policies. The Portuguese government naturally adopted a hostile attitude towards the Fatima apparitions. They feared this would incite religious fanaticism, threatening the Republic's stability. Measures had to be taken, they believed. Consequently, on August 13, 1917, the originally scheduled date for the apparition, local government officials preemptively detained the three children. This prevented them from fulfilling their promise to go to the appointed place. The orthodoxy of the Fatima apparitions. The apparitions of Our Lady of Fatima are certainly the will of heaven. This is another expression in the human world. Similar large-scale and sustained repetitive apparitions, lasting for half a year, happened once before. That was the Our Lady of Lourdes apparitions, which occurred in France. Our Lady of Lourdes and Our Lady of Fatima, these two events are the most representative Marian apparitions. They both occurred within a Catholic context. Other Christian denominations and sects, such as Eastern Orthodoxy and Protestantism, probably can only feel envy. Therefore, Catholicism, as the source of the Christian system, has once again been confirmed by divine will. The composition of mainstream Christianity is like China's ethnic structure. The main ethnic group, the Han Chinese, accounts for 90%. All other ethnic minorities total 10%. Similarly, for Christianity, the main ethnic group is Catholicism. All other denominations and sects belong to the minority ethnic groups. These include Eastern Orthodoxy, various Protestant denominations, and the ancient Oriental churches. Eastern Orthodoxy is a denomination in itself. Protestantism is not a denomination, but the name of a movement, a classification. Within Protestantism, various denominations, sub-denominations, and further divisions are independent of each other and not subordinate. They are all undeniably minority ethnic groups within Christianity. In fact, the three major Christian denominations, Catholicism, Eastern Orthodoxy, and Protestantism, are all children of God. Miracles also occur in Eastern Orthodoxy and Protestantism. For example, icons weeping, exuding oil, or closing their eyes. However, large-scale apparition events simply have not occurred, and miracles, after all, cannot be equated with apparitions. The Catholic Church's verification of apparitions is extremely rigorous. At least, relevant miracles must appear during the investigation. For example, the incorruptibility of the body many years after burial. Or, for example, patients with incurable diseases suddenly being cured in His name. Therefore, the apparitions recognized by the Holy See are absolutely reliable. Worldwide, Catholic believers have reached as many as 1.4 billion people. Eastern Orthodoxy has only 230 million people. The number of various Protestant denominations is even smaller. Among them, the largest independent denomination is the World Assemblies of God Fellowship, a network church, totaling 86 million people. This statistic once again demonstrates the orthodox status of Catholicism in Christianity. Among this, the several Marian apparitions have absolutely played an indispensable role. Many people, precisely because of this orthodoxy, convert to Catholicism. For example, 1. The Protestant Anglican Church, systematically, led by bishops, converted to Catholicism. For this reason, the Catholic Holy See even established personal ordinariates to receive them. In fact, the Anglican Church should not belong to Protestantism, because its own positioning is a denomination between Catholicism and Protestantism. 2. The United States, a beacon of modern civilization, has 80% of its population believing in various Christian denominations. But after adolescence, 2% to 3% of believers convert to Catholicism. 3. The current U.S. President Trump comes from a certain Protestant denomination, but publicly claims that he is a believer in the ecumenical Christian church. And ecumenical isn't that the translation source of the Chinese word Catholicism. The current U.S. Vice President Pence was once a staunch atheist. Later, after encountering some Christian denominations, he finally chose to convert to Orthodox Catholicism. All the above examples emphasize the significance of the word orthodox. In this era of internet information, where Christian thought is extremely free and surging, the ecumenical movement is standard political correctness. For this reason, Eastern Orthodoxy once had brief periods of communion with Catholicism. However, due to strong opposition from its grassroots believers and clergy, It ultimately failed. In the 20th century, Protestantism launched the ecumenical Christian unity movement. However, that was probably just wishful thinking on the part of Protestant church fathers. Long-term grassroots brainwashing had already made the beliefs of the congregation deeply entrenched and ingrained. Therefore, for unity, the resistance from Protestantism is clearly greater than that from Eastern Orthodoxy. So, for the great cause of unity, it is necessary to take drastic measures and correct past wrongs, even against one's will. Specifically, this means 1. Vigorously witnessing to the orthodoxy of Catholicism. 2. Completely negating the Reformation movement of the 16th century. Regarding witnessing to the orthodoxy of Catholicism, this involves openly promoting such pilgrimages and vigorously publicizing Marian apparitions. As for negating the Reformation, this means exposing that catastrophe of smashing, looting, burning, and war, which lasted for 130 years, surpassing even China's 10-year Cultural Revolution. The tradition of Marian apparitions. Catholicism has always had a tradition of venerating Mary. The reason for this is the unique continuous tradition of Marian apparitions. Before the Fatima apparitions, there were other significant Marian apparitions recognized by the Holy See. These include 1. Our Lady of Guadalupe, Mexico, 1531. Although mainly appearing to Saint Juan Diego, over several days in December, it is believed to be of supernatural origin. The miraculous image on the tilma has been venerated for centuries and continues to attract millions of pilgrims. The imprint's lasting existence signifies its enduring influence. 2. Our Lady of Lourdes, France, 1664 to 1718. This was a particularly long-lasting apparition. The visionary, Benoit Rencoul, reportedly witnessed apparitions of the Virgin Mary for an astonishing 54 years. 3. Our Lady of Lourdes, France, 1858. Saint Bernadette Soubirous reported 18 apparitions between February and July 1858. While not monthly apparitions, for 6 consecutive months like Fatima, this was still a series of events, occurring over a considerable period. 4. Our Lady of Kibeho, Rwanda, 1981 to 1989. This is a more recent example of sustained apparitions, occurring over several years, with multiple visionaries. So many large-scale and sustained apparitions, concentrated within a Catholic context, are certainly not coincidental. Their commonality likely lies in only one point, that is the repeated and continuous witnessing to the orthodoxy of Catholicism. However, differing from previous occurrences, the Fatima Marian apparition event was clearly specifically designed as an apparition aimed at all of society. It was meticulously designed for various critical verifications. Regarding this, clear records exist in relevant archival documents. Unfortunately, these are all surface phenomena. They do not provide profound interpretations and divine code for factors such as year, region, season, roles, religious background, etc. After all, the code is the soul of the appearance. Without the soul's interpretation, it is likely nothing. The Fatima apparition should be defined as a semi-public apparition. This is because only 3 shepherd children could directly face the Holy Mother. All other bystanders could not see the apparition. They could only see the holy children and the miracle of the Son, designed for witnessing. The message of Fatima. The Virgin Mary appeared to 3 shepherd children from poor families in Fatima. Lucia Santos, who was 10 years old, and her cousins, her cousin Francisco Mardo, who was 9 years old, her cousin Jacinta Mardo, who was 7 years old. The 3 of them, in 1917, from May 13th to October 13th, witnessed apparitions of the Virgin Mary almost every 13th of the month. Prior to this, the 3 children also claimed to have seen an angel 3 times in 1916. This angel identified himself as the Angel of Peace, teaching them prayers and devotions. In 1917, the Virgin Mary conveyed several important messages to the three children during these 6 apparitions. She also foretold future events, including a miracle during the last apparition. The Virgin Mary repeatedly emphasized repentance, praying for sinners, and reciting the Rosary. This was to implore world peace and the salvation of souls. On October 13th, during this final apparition, 70,000 on-site witnesses saw the miracle of the sun. The sun danced in the sky, changed colors, plunged towards the earth, and then returned to normal. The Fatima apparitions greatly strengthened the faith of Catholics. They promoted devotion to the Virgin Mary, especially devotion to her Immaculate Heart, and the emphasis on reciting the Rosary. Fatima became one of the world's most famous pilgrimage sites. Every year, it attracts millions of believers who come to venerate. The message of Fatima consistently emphasizes peace. It calls people to promote world peace and tranquility through prayer, repentance, and devotion. The Fatima Background Code. The core of this article is the code behind the Fatima apparitions. 1. The time code. The apparition occurred at the tail end of World War I. At this time, people were greatly disappointed in faith and extremely disgusted by war. People prayed for the war to end, yet did not know how much longer the war would last. The apparition at this moment was clearly to answer people's prayers, to reassure them, and to make them understand the relationship between war and sin. It was not God who initiated the war, but humanity's sins that brought about war. The apparition foretold the end of WWI, a comfort to people's prayers. The apparition emphasized that if humanity continued unrepentant, heaven would send down an even more terrible curse, meaning World War II. 2. The location code. The apparition occurred in Portugal. Portugal was a neutral country at the start of WWI. If the apparition had occurred in other major belligerent countries, such as Russia, Germany, France, Britain, or Italy, it would certainly be interpreted as secularly politicized. There would definitely be people who firmly acknowledged it, and others who firmly denied it. However, the apparition could not be too marginalized either. For example, if it happened in Central or South America, Asia, Australia, or Africa, in that case, it would definitely reduce the world's attention. And Portugal had already been involved in the peripheral, low-intensity warfare of WWI. The apparition in Portugal had a direct, warning effect on all warring nations. 3. The season code. From May to October, it is precisely the warm summer. Choosing this period for regular, fixed-point apparitions was clearly so that the arrival of hundreds of thousands of people could serve as witnesses. In that remote small village, it was fundamentally impossible to accommodate the eating, drinking, and sleeping of up to 70,000 outsiders. The summer climate was warm. People could set up tents anywhere, or even sleep on the ground overnight. The 6 consecutive apparitions, and the scheduled occurrence on the 13th of each month, were also that more people could come to witness on time. 4. The number of visionaries code. Previous apparitions had only appeared to one person. In that case, opponents would say it was their personal nervous breakdown and hallucination. This time in Fatima, it simultaneously appeared to 3 people. Then, the nervous breakdown argument collapses on its own. Theoretically, it is impossible for multiple people to simultaneously have completely identical hallucinations. 5. The role of the apparition code. Choosing the Virgin Mary to appear, rather than Jesus or other heavenly saints, certainly had profound intentions. After all, the image of the Virgin Mary is kind and benevolent, the mother of all, most suitable for releasing messages of peace and stability. This role arrangement was neither too high nor too low, just right. 6. The religious background code. The apparition occurred in a Catholic area. This once again affirmed the orthodoxy of Catholicism, because, in other Christian denominations and sects, There might be some small-scale spiritual events, but there have never been such large-scale apparition events. Spiritual events, after all, cannot be equated with apparitions. This apparition emphasized the conversion of Russia, that is to say, Russia, representing the largest scale of Eastern Orthodoxy, should return to Christian Orthodoxy. The apparition emphasized the Immaculate Heart of Mary and the recitation of the Rosary, clearly intended to make Protestants who deny Mary convert to Christian Orthodoxy. 7. The Authenticity Code. To corroborate the authenticity of the apparition, the Virgin Mary foretold the life and death of the 3 shepherd children, and the miracle of the Son at the last apparition. Especially this miracle of the Son, everyone present, regardless of their religion, even atheists, all saw it. Major world newspapers also reported it. Scientific monitoring confirmed that no solar anomaly was detected that day. This apparition, seemingly occurring within Catholicism, was actually aimed at all of humanity. If it was only for Catholics, then the miracle of the Son would seem superfluous, a little bit redundant. 8. The Key Code. The Virgin Mary revealed to the children the prophecy of the 3 secrets of Fatima. The first secret showed a terrifying vision of hell. The code is, it provided the ultimate answer to the disputes among various Christian denominations and sects regarding the interpretation of hell. The second secret foretold the end of World War I and the outbreak of World War II, as well as Russia abandoning Christian faith and spreading its errors, leading to wars and persecution of the Church. The Virgin Mary requested the consecration of Russia to her Immaculate Heart. The code is, this was the answer to believers' long prayers. Due to the turmoil of war, it emphasized that the war was expected to end soon, and it emphasized that war was not imposed on the world by God, but was brought about by the sins of humanity. If there was no repentance, there would be even harsher curses. The third secret was not revealed by the Vatican until 2000. The content involved the persecution of faith, and a vision of a bishop dressed in white, martyred along with other bishops and believers. The code should be, there will be much religious tribulation. The image of the Pope will be defamed. Indeed, even today there are still people who dare to attack the Pope, such a living saint, and they utter all sorts of excessive words. Could it be that slandering God's representative on earth, they are not afraid of being cursed by God? The Miracle of the Sun Code. The Virgin Mary foretold, in the apparition, that a miracle would occur on the last day. This was clearly to allow everyone to witness the authenticity of the Marian apparition. When October 13th arrived, the site was indeed crowded with people. This included people from various Christian denominations and sects, as well as government officials and journalists. Among them, many had come to debunk it. To allow this crowd of 70,000 people, packed like sardines, to have a clear view without blind spots, the old method could not be used. Everything happening on the ground had to happen in the air. Although people all saw the miracle of the sun, some would still deliberately distort it. Therefore, the design of the miracle added something that could not be denied in any way. So, before the miracle of the sun occurred, a heavy rain fell first. This rendered all rain gear ineffective. Everyone became soaking wet. However, after the 10-minute miracle of the sun, upon looking again, everyone's clothes were dry. This was faster than a clothes dryer. Crucially, while the clothes dried, people did not feel scorched. Now, hundreds of thousands, even millions of devout men and women, go on pilgrimage to Fatima every year. These activities are all a continuation of the Fatima apparition events of that year. For the forgiveness of sins, for the glory of heaven, pilgrimage is clearly walking the path to heaven. Christianity's stance on the apparitions. Catholicism, which especially venerates Mary, after years of investigation and evidence gathering, the Roman Catholic Church officially announced in 1930 that the Fatima apparitions were worthy of belief. Fatima has become one of the most famous Marian pilgrimage sites globally, attracting millions of pilgrims annually. The Church encourages devotion to Our Lady of Fatima. The Church believes that the core message of Fatima is a call to prayer, especially the Rosary, repentance, and consecration to the Immaculate Heart of Mary for world peace and the salvation of souls. The three secrets of Fatima have been a topic of discussion and interpretation within the Church. The Vatican officially published the interpretation of the third secret in 2000, linking it to the assassination attempt on Pope John Paul II. The Pope himself believed that Our Lady of Fatima saved his life. Eastern Orthodoxy, which also venerates Mary. The Eastern Orthodox Church has not taken an official stance on the Fatima apparitions. This is because the events occurred within a Roman Catholic context and involved only Catholic believers. Eastern Orthodoxy generally considers such events to be outside its canonical jurisdiction. Orthodox Christians are free to discern the authenticity of the Fatima apparitions for themselves. Some Orthodox Christians hold skeptical or even negative views of Fatima. They worry about interpretations implying that Orthodoxy needs to convert to Catholicism. Some Orthodox writers have thus dismissed Fatima as a false apparition. Some individual Orthodox Christians are willing to accept the authenticity of the apparitions, but do not necessarily accept all Catholic interpretations. Protestantism, which does not venerate Mary. Most Protestant denominations typically hold skeptical views of Marian apparitions, including Fatima. This skepticism stems from differences with Catholicism regarding the role of Mary and the saints. This is considered politically correct. Some Protestants believe that the message of Fatima does not align with the Bible. For example, they view devotion to the Immaculate Heart of Mary as being presented as necessary for salvation. They argue that this detracts from the soul-saving work of Jesus Christ. Protestants may offer alternative explanations for the Fatima events. These include psychological phenomena, fraud, or even demonic deception, especially if the messages seem to contradict the Bible. While most Protestants are critical, the level of rejection and engagement with the topic varies among different denominations and individuals. Some completely disregard it, while others analyze the claims more carefully based on their understanding of the Bible and miracles. Indeed, the Fatima apparitions clearly serve to uphold the orthodox position of Catholicism. This is obviously unfavorable to other denominations and sects. Therefore, it is understandable that others feel less comfortable, and even if they have to resort to sophistry, they must come up with an explanation due to individual emotions. Epilogue. This apparition is one in a series of Marian apparitions. Why are they all Marian apparitions and not others? Clearly, for apparition phenomena, miracles are secondary, witnessing is primary. That is to say, the common code behind these apparition events is to once again corroborate Catholicism's orthodox status within Christianity, because venerating the Immaculate Heart of Mary essentially negates the extremism of those minority ethnic denominations. If all Christians in the world could face these apparitions squarely, and all venerate the Immaculate Heart of Mary, then the reunion of Christianity and the long-sought goal of unity would be just around the corner.